What if your competitor knows one thing that you don't? And today we're going to go into the blind spot in business of your competitor. We're going to do some reverse engineering in terms of business competition, and you're going to learn the lesson of inverted thinking. It's going to support you on this journey. So buckle up, strap yourself in, let's have a good time. How would they destroy us? When you ask that question, it's not a matter of being negative. There's a lot of people say, oh, that's negativity, and you fall into, and that's the thing, negativity can be useful unless you fall into biases. And when you're dealing with analysis and competitive analysis and business intelligence, you have to learn to be very objective. So, how would they destroy us? That's the big question. And if we look at the traditional competitor analysis, they go backwards. They look at the past. They'll look at the pricing list. They'll look at the features that they had in the past of their software. They'll take a look at ads that they ran from last year. And all you've really have done is simply just document what they've actually done in the past. Now, it's not a matter of being predictive, but it is a matter of looking at what's realistically going on and being able to form an idea going forward. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, if you take a look, like, who are they hiring? Are they hiring 10,000 salespeople? Because that could actually move the business in a completely different direction versus hiring 200 engineers, right? Very important. So inverted thinking is asking the question of how would they destroy us in 6 months? And again, you're not leaning towards negativity bias. You're asking the question and you're starting from that end result and you're working backwards. How would they actually do it? And I'm going to give you a bit of that on the next slide. So if we get into the nightmare scenario, the nightmare scenario is we lose half our customers. That's how they do it. How it happens. Well, if we start to believe that, well, if they drop their prices, that's awesome, great. Maybe they'll drop their prices and they'll be able to make more money than us. But that will hurt their profits. That will hurt their profits. So they won't do that. But what they will do, possibly, is this sneaky move right here, is they will lock down an exclusive distribution deal. Now, the Apple example of this was they acquired a connection and agreement with Hewlett Packard in order to make the iPod sell beyond their own Apple stores. So Hewlett Packard had distribution into other retail outlets. So by linking up with them, they were able to move that product into the marketplace. So you can see that if they do this, if they were to actually do this, this will leave us helpless. Okay? Especially, that's the nightmare scenario. Okay? Literally, the nightmare scenario with that is we lose half our customers. We work backwards on this thing. We go 3 months earlier. Because let's say they're going to lock in some exclusive deal, but let's go back 3 months just a little bit. The reason why we go back 3 months is you find the actual breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs is a breadcrumb trail. It's a little clues that get you where you need to go. Let's take a look. Just like I was mentioning earlier, look for hiring surges. Very important. Oh my God, this is crucial. If you see a legal team being hired, you could see signs of expansion in certain areas, in certain directions. So a hiring surge in business development. Suddenly they hire 40 or 50 people, that sort of thing. Maybe even smaller, like a team of 10, for example. I've seen some business development teams that were only about 10 people for a trade and barter company, let's say. What they could do is also hire new executives from enterprise technologies. Okay, people that are SAP heavy, they use SAP and they're branching out into enterprise level software and the technology that's wrapped around that. And here's a good key point. Big companies often can't keep secrets. they do hire people. And Indeed and LinkedIn can be utilized for that. It's phenomenal. The breadcrumbs are there. It's right there. Yeah, they'll post an article, but you got to remember when they post articles, those articles could be surgical, meaning strategic. All right? But it's not necessarily strategic. Strategic would be more of the long haul. When we look at competitive business intelligence, strategic is the long game, where a tactic is the short game that serves the long game. All right? So if they release an article, it's more of a tactic, but it's preserving their long game strategy. That's how you can look at it. All right? Now, they're not going to have a PR campaign, although if they do, that could give you some intel, that could give you some information. Look at it and put it under scrutiny as best as you can. And are they hiring enterprise deal makers, like people that are going to go out there and make deals with other organizations? And if so, is who they're hiring, do they have a specific domain of knowledge? You know, it's a lawyer, but they're dealing in intellectual property. Or maybe they're a lawyer that's dealing in sports, right? You can look into those things and you can go deeper. So this is where we start to get the early signals of it all. This is where we check our gut. You know, having intuition and instinct. It's not just intuition, but it's also instinct. It's what we call tacit knowledge. Have that gut check, but also look at the evidence. The evidence is there. Now, with any company, the company's identity will be updated and changed through the actions in which they take. So in order for the company to grow, they have to be able to take actions. Actions provide evidence, which updates the identity of the organization. That also works on an individual level as well. So we want to look and do a gut check and the evidence, right? Let's look at the clues on the ground. So we look at the job posts, the postings. Are they looking for a strategic partner manager? Okay, now we're starting to move in a good direction. In terms of location, where are the distribution partners? Where are they located? Because that'll tell you regional, on the map. Where are they? Okay, they're expanding outside of their state. Okay, you can start to get all kinds of signals, all kinds of messages that are out there. And what are they outmaneuvering on? Are they outmaneuvering on distribution and not features of what they're doing? These are things to actually look at. When we pay attention to the clues on the ground, we are dealing with what they're doing now. Now, their website holds clues. The website could actually tell you what's going on based on how they're updating their software, based on what information that's there. For example, maybe they're a web application and they're updating particular information. In other words, maybe their web application started off as just a run-of-the-mill everyday person, but now you can see signs that they're pushing it towards enterprise level or large organizations, large companies. So now you know that they're looking to grow towards bigger fish in that direction. So the website tells a lot, and of course the news does too, but just remember with the news can be very tactical. They may want you to see only what they want you to see. You have to go deeper on occasion. So the news articles really is a set of clues to go deeper. I don't want you to take their website or their news articles at absolute face value. It should be used to actually dig even further. What is the counter move? Let's break it all down. We have to be able to counter. I mean, that's all part of competitive business intelligence. Let's get closer in on this so we could identify. So they're targeting the big, slow corporate distributors. What will happen is they will get bogged down with contracts, and these things do take time. These deals have a process, and that process takes time. So they're going to be bogged down with negotiations probably for months. Okay, you don't want to assume. Could have fast lawyers, great, but these kind of deals could take some time. You don't want to fight the giant partners that are there. Okay, we go fast. We go for the direct to consumer for smaller clients who hate the enterprise sales. Because yes, there are some organizations like, oh, we don't want to deal with them, you know. So what you do is you double down on the smaller direct to consumer setups who hate dealing with the enterprise level. So what this does is it makes ourselves immune to their action because those deals actually take time. Now I'm going to just get a little closer here. So these deals take time because of the fact that the deals have to close, there's a process, everybody has to go through red tape to get things done, especially with these relationships. So during that time where those deals are going on, we capitalize, we build a direct relationship with the smaller customers. That's what we do. You got to remember, 5 small fish can add up to 1 big one, and you could always expand that way. Now, one of the things you could do as a tactic is you create faster onboarding as a tactic, because when you onboard people, that is beautiful, getting them in. And that onboarding process better be smooth. It better be smooth. You want smooth onboarding. And when we have customer experience, people that have a customer experience team, they're able to follow up and be like, how are things going? Those customer experience people are the ones to nourish that relationship, make sure that that relationship stays strong and everything is on the up and up. So onboarding brings them in, but we have to be able to nourish that over time. Now, another thing we can do is simplify the purchasing. Look at our purchasing system, say, okay, how can we simplify this? Okay, because if they are busy negotiating, you know, they're busy in negotiation, we are actually winning customers, which is what we need to do. So that's where it gets important. So you don't want to guess what your competitors are going to do today. You understand how they kill you tomorrow, spot the clues, and stop it right away. This is why inversion thinking helps, because you start at the point of the problem and you go backwards from here. So it's very valuable. So as you can see, it's very straightforward to understand these principles. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Feel free. Check out some of my other videos. Have a great day. Mario Leone.